Okay, in Gulfport.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
All right, nice.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's with Matt and Amber from 3HG.
And if y'all want to share the Kron Studios video or whatever,
The live video.
the live one.
Yeah, I've already texted several people today and let them know that around 2 it was going to be kicking off.
Perfecto. We'll let a few people get in here first.
And especially several drummers.
Yeah.
That we were going to be doing this. I think, like I said, I wasn't aware this was going on, and they were surprised too. So they were, really excited again that there was something like this.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, unlike me, if you mute your phone,
You do it every time.
Yeah.
Like every time. Recording. Okay. That. Drinking early. Hell yeah.
I know this is super early for me, much less that I don't really drink that much.
You ever had that stuff? You ever heard of that?
I haven't, and I didn't know how to approach it. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know why I taste weed.
Yeah. Right?
I was like, maybe he keeps it by his ice, or the cups were stored near it. And then when you said that, I looked and noticed it was...
Yeah, somebody gave that to me, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, am I going to die? Am I going to float away when I drink this?
But it has that smell and taste.
Yeah. I don't know.
And this is the first episode of the year.
It sure is. Let's go with it.
And you got your Saints jersey on.
Yeah. I feel good. The Saints are playing today, I think. I think they're playing. I don't know. I have to look. But holy crap. We have Stephen Nelson Jr. here with his Mr. Bass player, Dakota.
Hey.
Thank you guys for being here. YouTube at Bearded Drums. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. IG at S. Nelson Jr. Correcto. Twitter at Stephen Nelson Jr.
Yeah, I don't use the Twitter.
Cool. Me either.
It's about the
stupid.
most toxic place I think you could ever be. I created the account and never used it.
A lot of haters on there.
I've never done Twitter.
So
Yeah,
toxic.
same.
Yeah.
It's every time I see an argument in the news, it's
Yeah.
always linked to Twitter. So I stay off that.
Do you do Insta? I never got into Instagram. You do Instagram?
It's the only thing I like now.
Really?
I got to the point where Facebook had become quite toxic, and
Right.
it was that or ads. And to be honest with you, talking about bearded drums and videography, that got me into photography. So Instagram being really photo based, that's about the only one that interests me. And then a lot of drummers and musicians still utilize that platform to put up 1-minute videos and stuff like that. So it's, it just doesn't seem quite as toxic as some of the other forums where commenting and, all that kind of goes back and forth.
How long have you been doing the video thing? When did you get into that?
I want to say it's 3 years. It might be 4, but I think it's 3 years.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, but I mean, I'm sure as you can kind of attest,
Yeah.
being that this is on YouTube, right?
Yes.
YouTube's tough.
Yeah.
Mainly
Tough in what sense?
mainly in the comment section, because
You don't have to have comments.
Well, no, you don't. But I do have a nice group of guys that's what they like to talk about, because my YouTube channel is gear based. I never set out to be a playing based channel like chops or drum covers. I noticed, at least in the beginning, there was nobody really leading you for the gear. Like, how many things have you bought in your career that are in the corner that you thought were going to be great and you never used it, or you thought it was going to be great and it was terrible.
Right.
That was kind of my push, was like, I'm enough of a gearhead working at Mississippi Music, then working at Magnolia Music and playing all this time. I was like, well, I can at least guide or give it a neutral opinion on gear.
And you do a fantastic job of that too, because talking about showing gear, demonstrating gear, like I have a constant steady feed of guitar gear that I survey,
which is huge.
And a lot of times I'll watch like 3 or 4 demos of the same, like a guitar pedal, and not every video is that great. They don't show it, or they do like metal shit, and I'm just like not into it. But then somebody else would do something weird and interesting with it, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
Now
right
I could use it. Right, the right video has to reach out. Is like if it's too narrow, then you kind of don't hit the mark.
It's tough, and like you were saying about the commenting, that is one of the harder things I think dealing with YouTube is I hear podcasters and YouTube influencers say this a lot. You could have 1,000 great comments. Oh man, it was awesome. But the only one, and I am very guilty of this, that you remember is the one bad one.
Yep.
And those are the only ones that stick. So I've learned over that 3 or 4 year period that, most of those guys are keyboard warriors and they don't know the context.
Yeah.
So I focus on the positive, and there's a lot of guys that get, they write all the time and say, thanks,
Right.
I just needed an explanation. I didn't need a Chops video showing this amazing stuff I could never do, myself included.
Right.
But I just wanted to hear it. Does it work? What was the quality?
I think that kind of criticism is coming from cowards, because they're not going to put out the energy and effort to do their own video. And I bet you like 9 out of 10 times, if you ask them and reply back, well, where's your video? Let's, if you can do a better job, please do. Go forth and do it.
And it's not hard. That's how that whole channel started. Well, but I say it on a basic level. The reason I got started was I've seen your videos.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's got the most hits is the Saints, the Saints song.
Yep.
And probably a little before that, I just, how do you do it? The cameras, and do you have to have an interface? Do you have to have? At that time, all I had was my phone, like most guys.
Right.
And we know when you see those phone videos on YouTube, they're bad.
Yep.
The microphone on the phone is not good. Sure, it came out with the little microphone. It's like $99 that hooks right into the side. And I bought that thinking, well, I can just record it for myself. And then I don't know what happened within an hour period of me getting it. Before I knew it, I was in front of my phone saying, hey, this is
right.
I got this mic and let me, and that's one of my higher viewed videos is from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because guys can't afford, for the most part, to go get a DSLR, an audio interface, several microphones, a laptop, but this little thing just popped right into the side of the phone and gets great audio.
That is very important. Like the establishing the quality, that is so important. Like, because everybody and their mom's got a damn podcast or some type of show where they're doing something, cooking or or talking about whatever. But if you don't have a way to separate yourself from everybody else, I mean, then you're just fodder, you're just noise, you're doing the same thing, and you have to have something that like kind of elevates it. So I mean, like you're commenting about these microphones, these broadcasting microphones. It's like, like
I was asking him, how long did it take you to set this? This is years.
It takes a minute, but it also takes a pretty penny too. I mean, just like for these microphones, I mean, it's
it's not, and those are Shure, so it's you're not getting off brand, you're getting mainline quality stuff.
But it does two things for us. It makes our lives easier because right away, you turn them on and you got broadcasting quality. So it's doing that. Instinct, instantly.
The way I look at it anyway is, instead of buying something at the low level, then upgrading to the mid level, then upgrading to the high level, I just buy the high level stuff.
Everybody falls into that trap.
I could have had 4 Toyota Corollas in the yard, or I could have had this. You know what I mean? I mean, that's and me and Mitchell both. Mitchell's got his own studio in Biloxi. We've spent an absolute fortune trying to reach a high quality of audio and video. We're still on a lower level. We're not there yet.
I think it's
my studio's here right now.
I think it's number one, before we even go further than that, thank you for bringing us on.
Oh, thanks for coming. Yeah, cool. This is high level January month, so it's like we have nothing but like high level guests. I'm not even
we got top kidding. Where's our top notch guys this month?
Like I was telling him, I was like Stephen's coming on. We got to like fucking dot the I's and cross the T's.
But I mean, this is cool. You've actually got the real setup, the table with everything. It's studio quality. And like I was telling him when I got here, nobody does this.
Right.
There is another podcast I watch on YouTube that is somewhere else in the country, and it's great, but it's nobody you know. It's local drummers from that area.
Right.
And one thing I thought, I was thinking about this in the car, and I tell people this all the time. I don't think people realize that as far as the Gulf Coast is concerned, because we're sandwiched between Mobile, which has a pretty big music scene, and obviously, my bad, New Orleans, which has well, not right now, but normally New Orleans would be the king.
Oh, well, I'll tell you something about that later.
We are very lucky here. Not only how much we get paid as musicians, we make more than both cities. Like I know guys that play Bourbon, I know guys that play private gigs over there, and I know guys that play. We make more on average here than both of those cities combined. And further to that point, we're super lucky here with musicians. Number one, I would actually, and I'm not saying this because I'm a drummer, we probably are super lucky as far as drummers are concerned.
Yes.
I mean, we have, obviously New Orleans being New Orleans, which is like literally referred to as a drummer city. That aside, we have so many really good drummers here, and they're all stylistically different. Guys ranging from 70s all the way down to, I mean, I can't think of who the youngest drummer will be. Probably Jarrett.
Maybe Zane.
How old is Zane?
He's like 22.
22, 23. Jarrett is 23. I don't know if y'all know Jarrett.
Now, when you say like drummers down here, you're talking about musicians on a professional level that are playing
or
the circuit,
at least semi-professionally,
and making income strictly from performing.
I mean, like you. Zane doesn't do it anymore. He's going into the military, but Zane, great player. I'm just going to go from like youngest to oldest. Jarrett, who is an awesome player, 24 years old. He part-time or full-time in a casino, but he does play. He has an original band, and he will fill in for me when I do, which is very rarely, but when I have to go out of town or on vacation, he fills in for me. He is killer. And then you've got like the staples from 30 and up. Johnny Hosey Jr., Pat McGinley.
Is Pat still in Mobile?
Pat is still in Mobile. Pat McGinley, Richie Henry, who doesn't live here anymore, but he's one of the guys that came up in that crew.
Yeah.
And then stepping up into granted, I'm probably forgetting a lot of guys, but stepping up into the older guys, like guys that influenced me. I don't know if y'all know Ray Hanser. He is a Gulfport native. He doesn't live there anymore. He moved out to...
He's in Wiggins.
Yeah. But he's from Gulfport. He's probably late 60s, 70s. And then Hugh Barlow in Long Beach, who is 70s. And both of those guys really built me. I would say, at least as far as who built me as a drummer, Pat McGinley, Ray Hanser, and Hugh Barlow.
Pat's name comes up a lot. We had Della Memoria on for our Christmas episode, the last episode of December, and Emily was talking a lot about how Pat would sit down with her and kind of work out beats and structures just in the early songwriting process, and how it wasn't, she loved it so much because it wasn't straightforward drumming. It was like, here's not a straight beat and just pitting notes on top of it, but like really working in the rhythm.
He's my favorite.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna say local guys, that's I mean, I don't know if you've ever got to spend a lot of time with Pat. He's got the best feel out of anybody I can think of across all styles.
Yeah. And he sings. Well, he does all of that.
He was doing Bright Side.
Yeah. Which was Dakota.
Yeah, it was with me. Yeah.
But yeah, he is definitely by far my favorite. And probably because he's closest to my age out of all the guys that really influenced me. He's my favorite as far as I love to watch him. He's got great feel. He doesn't approach any beat, number one, the same way twice, but also in the way that you might expect. When the pickup comes in or when the fill comes, he'll usually adapt it to the song or the situation, or modify it to his own playing style, and he's my favorite one to watch.
Yeah, Pat, if you're watching, I would love to have you on here.
Love you, Pat.
I mean, I'd definitely love to have Pat on here just to talk about everything that you're...
He's just a good conversationalist, like just to, not even drum related, just to sit down and talk to Pat is always the...
Well, I mean, when he worked at Pinkston's, I'd love going in there, talking to him, And he was always so super friendly. He'd be like, "What are you up to? What are you doing?" I'd be like, "Oh, I'm doing an indie band, blah blah, Super Chunk." And he's like, "Oh, Super," and I was like, "What? You know who that is?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know Super Chunk. I'm old." And it's like I was like, "Oh, I mean, just so refreshing to to connect with someone that listens to the same stuff you do."
I and I don't get to see him that much anymore. He's got a child now, so he's doing the dad thing, and then. With the way 2020 has been, which is just...
Yeah.
Speaking of childs and dads, I want to give a shout out to my brother and Sarah for watching the kids this afternoon so that I could be here and hang out with you guys.
A lot of sacrifices being made today.
Yeah, I think we've got another one. You got to thank somebody for watching?
Yes, I have to thank my mom. Thank you for watching the baby.
Thanks, Mom.
Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
All that gear that you review on your YouTube, do you buy all that?
One of the most heinous comments I think I receive them all the time on YouTube is people saying, "Oh, well, you're getting it for free, so of course you're going to review it favorably." And I don't reply to negative comments anymore because it's pointless.
Right.
The one I do fire back at immediately when I see it on my phone, I instantly reply is when they say that, I'm like, "No, I've never been given anything for free. Sabian has never called me. Pearl has never called me.
I'm waiting on my call, yeah."
I got one thing for free in the 3 years, and it's drum dots.
I was gonna say drumsticks.
No, drum dots. These little $5 drum mutes, and such a cool company. And I had already done a review because I found the product in a music store, and they loved it. And they said, "Well, here," and they sent me a care package with like a T-shirt.
Oh, wow.
A pack of drum dots and some stickers. That was literally all I've ever received. So everything has been purchased. It's either stuff that I own, because I have way too much gear, vintage, new, or it's stuff that I was going to purchase anyway. But it's a weird hole to not fall into, because if you start purchasing stuff just to review, you're going to go broke.
Yes.
I mean, we all know, like, I'm sorry to the guitarists and the bass players out there. I'm sure your gear is expensive. It doesn't touch drums.
That is a fact.
Sorry. I mean, it just, cymbals being high end, on average $300 a piece.
Yeah.
Then the kit, high end or mid line up is $1,500 to $30,000, whatever you want to spend.
A bass guitar usually doesn't get a hairline crack after playing it for 6 months. You know what I mean? You just change the strings and you're good to go, right? I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not a bass player.
I also think it depends on what kind of band you play in, too. I mean, I would say playing in a punk band is very affordable. Very, very affordable. and there's not a high expectation to sound real good there.
Well, yeah, I've seen punk bands with the different colored kits and the B8 cymbals and stuff, and they're killing it, and it's pretty affordable. But if you want to keep a high quality kit in tip top shape, you're going to spend some cash. There's just no way around.
Well, and like you said earlier, no matter what, even if you start out on the low end or in the midline, you're going to end up, most people, in the high line in the end. So why not just get good quality stuff? Good quality stuff doesn't break.
Yeah.
If you get the B8 cymbals, they're going to break eventually. Yep. But if you get the K Dark Crash or whatever, it's going to last, especially if you take, at least moderately take care of it. You don't even have to baby. I don't baby my stuff. But if you moderately take care of it, some cymbals I keep like storeroom fresh, like clean them after I play them. And then there's a set of cymbals. The one I play at the juke joint, that's a 10, 15-year-old set of cymbals. I've never cleaned them once.
Well, you're letting other people play on this.
But they sound better the more that they don't get, like when I bought them, I was not the biggest fan. Yeah. But 15 years later, I mean, you can see it. There is a decade's worth of grime on there.
Like a patina.
And they sound like they're from the 50s. And that's, and I purposefully, like when I take them out of the bag or put them away, I try to smash my hand and get oil and grease into the cymbal, because that's, one of my favorite quotes or sayings is, the dirt is where the funk comes from. And that is true. I love funk music being the most important style of music to me. You don't clean those cymbals.
So you're a big fan of Funk K Getaway?
Honestly, yeah. Like They are pretty killer.
They are killer.
I like them. We got to see them play at Red Radio when they recorded.
That was cool.
But kind of like tipping your hat to what makes a professional drummer professional is that line of caring about your equipment, like you're saying, like taking care of not only cymbals but like keeping your drum shells in a climate controlled environment, not putting them in the garage, not putting them in the tool shed.
Like we all used to do in our teens. You put the drums in the back of the pickup and go to your friends.
Oh yeah,
like. Right. Did you ever do the thing where the drum kit literally is set up in the pickup truck and go to?
I was that guy.
I've done it. I've run over crash cymbals at 16. With that's that, and you learn obviously. Yeah. But that's not the way to do it. Get the bag, get the case. It'll last you a long time, and you'll be happier not having to deal. But
that's kind of what separates professionals. Separates out the weeds is that as you get older and you get more serious about playing and dedicating, you realize this is what you want to keep doing. Yeah. And how to preserve that skill of being able to keep going. It's I need to keep my drums in a humidity controlled, environment, because down here it's just humidity saturation in the South in Mississippi, so it's like, you want to play in a store or, keep them in a storage unit that's climate controlled, not outside, don't keep them in the boat shed.
Or like even further than that, when you find, let's talk, bass guitar or a drummer, like say a snare drum. I know you have a piece of gear that you love. Like there's got to be a snare, a cymbal that is worth as much to you as a person. Mm-hmm. When you finally have an instrument that you find that you just absolutely love, then it becomes even more paramount. Yeah. To keep that one, you can't play that snare like that. You can't bash that snare like that. Or you can't just throw that cymbal in the car. It has to go into it. Yeah. Because there's pieces that you do come across occasionally that, they mean a lot. They sound perfect. Mm-hmm. Or somebody gives you, right, has some kind of sentimental value. So when either you become to that professional level or you get a drum that is just means the world to you, then it really becomes like, you're not going to, that's my child.
Right. Yeah. I'm not, I'm not a drummer, but I can definitely relate to the sentimentality aspect of it. When I was a kid, a teenager, I had a drum set and I had the aluminum garbage can snare, right? But when I had the best time recording that kit on a 4-track and going back and listening to it, and I eventually transferred all those 4-track demos to MP3s, and even when they pop up in my shuffle and I'm listening, I'm like, oh, the drums sound like trash, but ooh, that snare, that piece of shit snare is cutting through nice.
But sometimes maybe the drums,
and I still have it.
Yeah. Sometimes maybe the drums were supposed to sound like trash. I mean, sometimes you almost come full circle where you start out with trash when you're young, and then you get, more professional, you get higher gear, and then you come back around to, well, I'm looking for that trashy sound again.
Right.
I don't know.
But now there's plugins for it.
Well, yeah, but like Watson Nord, who owns the Chimneys in Gulfport, the restaurant, he comes to the jam on Sundays a lot, and he asked me one day how he liked the way my kick drum sound. And he said, how do you tune your kick drum? And the story is, I had gone to Watson's house in Gulfport. They were doing a late night jam. It was like 2:00 in the morning. Him and his roommate, he played bass, the other guy played guitar, and they kept the drum kit in the house. And illicit things were going on late at night, as they do, in the musician circles. Needless to say, they had this kit, and it was that kit. 22, 12, 13, 16, like, what is it called? Music sound piece, like that. Yeah. The kit you get at Christmas. Yeah. And the guy had literally taken house pillows and stuffed the bass drum to the top. Oh, yeah. I don't mean like halfway by the sound hole, like all the way to the top. And I loved, it sounded perfect. Yes. It had this crap head on the back. It hit so hard. And I started tuning my 22s like that. I went to Walmart and bought the fleece $10 blanket, but the big one, and it would literally fill it more than 3/4 of the way. And I got the greatest live sound, like in mainly for clubs, because it doesn't really matter what your bass drum sounds like in a club. The sound man's going to EQ, possibly compress, and possibly gate it. Yeah. So you can play with fancy tunings all you want, but they're going to do what they want in a club. They want low end and click, really. just so you can hear it.
Yep.
So that's every club I went to after that, after doing this, just fill the bass drum up with covers. They never had to do anything because it just sounded like that off the bat. And sound guys loved it. They were like, I don't have to do volume, gain. That's it. So like I said, you can come full circle with, I got this $20,000 and I spent 4 hours tuning it note to note across the tuning, the tension rods.
Right.
But then, you're 38 and you're filling up a bass drum with Walmart pillows or quartz to try to get it to just sound terrible.
Yep.
Well, speaking of sounding terrible, when you are playing, you have all drummers have a distinct style that they kind of, form playing over time. What would you say some of your techniques, methods you pull from that help to like compose your style of playing?
I would say it's two things, and it's really not methods or styles because I was self-taught. Found the drum set in the attic at 12, drug it down without asking, started playing. Played, went to college. 2 years into college, realized I didn't need a music degree. I was not that drummer. Charts, music education, jazz. It just wasn't what I was doing. So left, Southern Miss and came back home, started playing. But it really, for me, it's more about the drummers that I focused on early 20s and now. And the other half would be, I don't think any drummer can disagree with this. That's the most important thing. And if you don't know where I'm pointing on the camera, the bass player is the most important thing for the drummer.
Yes.
Our right foot and his right hand have to lock, And that's really, you could say that's, you're talking about a cover band or you're talking, I think that really goes across most genres. Now, granted, there are times when you're gonna call and he's gonna answer, or he's gonna call and you're gonna answer, or you're gonna lead and he's gonna, But for the most part, when you're serving the song, in my opinion, your right foot and his right hand.
Yep.
So if he's playing boom, 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 you should be with the right foot on the kick, boom, boom, boom. Boom. That's really it. So for me, it's the drummers that affected me in my life, and the guys I get to play with. Just like I was saying about the drummers, even though there's a very small group of them here on the coast, we have really good bass players. There's not that many, it's always like you see a lot of guitar players can pick up bass on the side.
But that doesn't make them bass players.
Yeah, exactly.
And I emphasize this all the time, that a bass there's when
difference.
you're in a room with a bass player, because the bass player treats the bass as it should be. It's
own voice.
It's working with the percussion, but also with whatever the guitar is doing. But yeah, when I play bass, my instinct is to play it like a guitar, and I have to work
but
really
that's natural.
hard. It's
You're a
natural,
guitar
but
player.
I have to work really hard to it's not going to be eighth notes. I really need to work on this counter melody that's pulling everything together. You have to rethink, really, if you want to be a bass player.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big difference, in being a good bass player and just someone picking up a bass guitar and plucking away.
And that feeds directly. Like, he asked me a month ago, he was like, he just texted me out of the blue, and he said, how do you come up with your drum fills? And it's such a hard...
That's a great question.
It's a hard question to answer, but the simplest answer I can give, it's the same reason I don't take drum solos. I feed off of two people in the band, and 80% of it is the bass player. The other 20% is what the singer's doing. Usually, 80% of what I do...
What percent the singer? 20%?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, because when I was playing... I'm not a drummer, but when I was playing drums, I would listen to the vocals. Because the vocals kind of guided me for the intensity.
Yes.
And then I'd work in my transitions for the build-ups and everything. But I would listen to the vocals like, okay, I need to play steady here so it doesn't interfere with the vocals. Unless, like, the keyboards or the bass are doing a little tricky, like, transition, segue or whatever. But I would just kind of back off, and so the vocals could be up front. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, but kind of like coming to you, you're more of a, and correct me if I'm wrong, hard rock.
Yes.
Metal.
Absolutely.
Very aggressive style of drumming.
Yep.
Is it different for you? Like, because I'll be honest, and it has nothing to do with, the quality of your style of music, but I'm not an aggressive player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get into hard rock. I definitely don't get into. I don't get anything on the aggressive side.
Yeah.
But it interests me to like when you're playing. Same thing? Do you follow heavily on the bass guitar, or because guitar is such a big thing in metal, is that what you're listening to, or are you listening to the vocals?
Well, 9 times out of 10, and no offense to any of my friends that I play with, 9 times out of 10 when I'm playing with a metal band, the bass player is doing just exactly what the guitar player is doing.
Okay.
So I can't really rely on that. Every now and then I'll get a bass player that's like, all right, I can lock in with this guy and play the footnotes off of him.
Yeah.
But I go off of, like you said, what's happening with the vocals, whether it's a verse, chorus, solo, or anything like that. Like, solos, I'm not doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
I don't want to take that guy's glory.
Yeah, it's his time.
Yeah, and even if it's a fast like double bass part, like just a real fast part, I'll keep it. I'll still keep it simple.
Yeah,
but I'll still
because that's always interesting to me how that would be. How your approach in that arena is different. Because I don't. When we play at the juke joint, there's only so far.
And you play the juke joint every Sunday night.
Every Sunday, when I say without fail, there's been times COVID and people have gotten sick that we haven't. But it's pretty much. I want to say. We're coming up on 10 years.
Wow.
Which is weird to
Right.
say.
That is pretty crazy.
Same place, same time, same night for 10 years. But when we play that gig, there's only so... And granted, I'm very lucky, again, to mention Jared. He comes just about every Sunday. And he has a weird influence.
Yeah.
It's like 50% jazz.
Yeah.
And I mean swinging ass. We can cuss, right?
No, this is 100% PG.
I know we can on YouTube, but some people on their channels don't like.
We can say whatever the hell we want.
Swinging ass jazz or the death metal of death metal. Like that is his polar opposites, and it's really hardly anything in between. Yeah. It's like the swingingest of the swing, or I'm gonna cut your head off.
Right.
So when we play songs, there's a limit that I reach when a singer comes up or the band calls out a certain tune. At a certain limit, I have to yell Jarrett's name and be like, "Get up here," because I can't play. What's
Jared's last name?
Taylor.
Yeah, Jared Taylor.
Just clarify.
Yeah,
we're talking about Jared Taylor.
Jared. I told you to watch, so I hope you're watching or hope you see this. But when they get to a certain level, there's a ceiling for me where I'm like, I can't. Not that I can't physically play, but I can't relate enough to do the song any justice.
Right.
So Jared, get up here, and he gets up there, and he can handle the metal, the aggressive, the hard rock. So it's always. It's very interesting for me to see how y'all, and I say that loosely, would approach that as opposed to me. I lock myself on the R&B side of things.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I did a drum camp some years ago, the Stanton New Orleans style drum camp.
Can you see it on the camera?
Oh wow, look at there. I did not notice that.
There it is. He's got it on.
I did not even notice that. Yeah, we were at the U.S. Mint. Terrible place to play drums, by the way. The reverb in there is awful. And they had the Soul Rebels come in, the brass band.
Yeah.
And everybody, they were playing, your common New Orleans style songs. And they had all these different drummers come up, and it was all improv drums. It's like it was like the last day. Show me what you just jam with them. And they get up there, and these guys are pulling out their brushes.
Yep.
I'm not a brushes guy.
I'm neither. That's a whole different world.
They're talking about stickings.
Yeah.
And patterns, and I'm like, I'm not a stickings guy, but I did the camp to learn about things I had no clue about.
Yeah.
To try to take some of that and incorporate with what I do. So these guys are tapping around, having a good time. They're like, who's next? Who's next? And I'm like, so they, I forget what song it was, but it was like,
yeah.
And I got on this little Gretsch kit, this little vintage ass Gretsch kit, and I was like, this is my moment, and I'll let them have it. And they were like, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm putting some goddamn ass behind this beat. Like all these other nerds are over here doing these little jazz beats. No offense, but hey, I'm full of testosterone. Let's get this thing moving. Let's get moving.
Yeah.
And they were all just their eyes open, like, dude, not what we just went over for 6 days.
But that's another perspective on the same thing is always good. Stanton, you were asking about influences. He was my biggest influence, say 20 to 30.
Yeah.
That's when I found out about the Meters, Dr. John, Galactic, anything New Orleans. I ate it up.
Yeah.
And I went to every show, concert, clinic, private lessons with him in New Orleans back years ago when he did them. I ate up every last bit of that I could.
Yeah.
Not so much for the brushes or the jazz or the swing stuff, but that street beat New Orleans, dirty ass, and that's why I probably search for dirty sounding cymbals and snare drums now, because that's what I think of when I think of New Orleans. Like, there's shit in the gutter. There should be shit on the snare drum. Like, and I don't mean literal shit, but like the way you play and put some stank on it.
Yeah. I did take a lot from that. Like because I've never seen people play like that. Like, personally.
It's a whole other world.
When you grow up around metal guys and you're listening to death metal or hard rock or whatever it is for just constantly. Yeah. And you're not exposed to that type of music. Like, we were hanging, at night we'd go to these little clubs and watch all these famous jazz drummers. And these guys are explaining to me that's been playing for 30 years, like, what they're doing. And I was like, holy shit, it's a whole nother trade, really. It's a whole nother skill set.
It's completely different, because we, at least here, I would say, are dominated by three styles. Rock, hard rock, whatever you want to call it. Let's say the rock side. It is Mississippi, so this is the blues capital this is the birth of the blues, and obviously country. So yeah, we don't know swing, street beats, New Orleans shuffles. That's their thing. So I think the more you can get over there and see stuff like that is all the better. Yeah, because it all comes back to the same thing anyway. All those styles of music come from the same spot. Mississippi with the blues, and jazz was born in New Orleans. And I don't think people realize, a lot of younger guys, like younger than you, realize everything comes from either the blues or jazz. That's America's music. Right. So whether you like metal.
Which was all born in Mississippi, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, everything. Elvis Presley, Mississippi.
We own the rights.
Muddy Waters, Mississippi. We are where, you can make fun of Mississippi all you want, but this is where it all comes from. I don't care if it's metal, punk, what would you say your favorite,
it's all
style?
Born out of Mississippi sadness.
Well, I'm partial to funk, so
it's all, and I was talking to Jarrett the other day, and we were talking about styles of music we hate. No offense to either of you, and I don't say hate, it's just not something I get into. I can't stand hard rock or metal, and he said I can't stand blues. Now, each person should be able to understand why I don't like metal. And if you were to say you don't like blues, musical opinions are deep, so I get it. But the one thing I think everybody does have to realize, you are in Mississippi, and that's a deep, how old is rock and roll? 60, 70 years? Mm-hmm. How old's blues? Can you even go, how far would that go back into the 1800s, if not further? That is your root. Whether you like it or not, metal does come from hard rock.
Oh yeah, from
rock and roll, which comes from
blues.
Blues or jazz. That is our.
It all originates from
music.
From
so
a similar source.
Again, we're lucky because we're here. You could drive 6 hours to a real, not the juke joint in Ocean Springs, which is pretty close, but you could drive to a real juke joint with dirt floors and see a guy that's 80 years old playing real blues like that. You can't get that in Seattle. Mm-hmm. You can't get that in LA.
It's true.
Good point. As where you almost, if you were to see somebody do New Orleans style music in Florida, is it really? It might sound good, but you've got to go to New Orleans for that. You
got to
go
be in that dirty city.
The Shed to hear blues. You have to go to, but also again,
go to Phil's house to hear the metal.
Well, I'm about to say also because that's the other half of it. We are a rock. I mean, how many good rock and roll bands have come out of this area?
A couple.
But I mean, even from like mid-level up to what would be the biggest? 3 Doors Down?
Sure. Well, yeah, I guess.
Technically.
Sure.
So that's, like them or not.
If you want to go by radio.
Yeah, but if you like it, whether you like it or not, That's they did come from here. Those are our
Pascagoula,
guys.
was a Moss Point, Pascagoula.
I think it's Escatapa.
Escatapa. That's yeah.
So they are coast people, you know,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of good in all those arenas, especially I'd say hard rock, blues, and country. I don't really get into country, but there are some good country bands around here. There's several good blues acts, and there's a lot of great rock. Granted, talking about 2020, there's nowhere to play. But
well, that's why we're here.
That's exactly
to see you play. For everyone sitting at home waiting for that Saints game to come on.
Yeah.
Drinking. Like I'm gonna watch old Stephen. Do you know Therese Collins?
No.
Oh, she just texted me. She said I need to stop saying you know. She says I'm saying you know too much on the podcast
rude.
right now.
It took me 3 years of bitter drums to work out out of my vernacular.
Yeah.
Because that is like the most common thing and probably the worst thing you can say. And it's natural because that is just a pause when you're thinking of what to say. But it took me so long to get rid of, that was the tough one.
How about we see, since we're talking about approaching, see some of these, techniques you use for your style. If we can get you on the kit, and we'll move the camera over. If everybody can give us a second or here, and kind of change pace here for a little bit.
Bring your headphones with you and turn that drum set on when you get back there. Be good to go. Let's see here.
Give a shout out to while you're there. Can you give a shout out to Dakota's band Kronite for being here?
Shout out to Dakota's band Kronite for being here. Is that how you want me to do it?
Well, that's the band, but
Gold standard.
like Dakota for being here.
Is that how you say the band name though? Kronite?
It's a Kronite.
Kronite.
Yeah,
Dakota. I mean,
Because fun fact, my last name is Kron, and when people say Krohn, I want to make this announcement clear. When you say Krohn, that is 100% offensive and is not right. Okay, there's an H there. It's German. Get with the program.
And I have to apologize because I thought for the longest time that was your band. Because of, I swear to God.
Why don't you have copyrights on that?
And then I found, he told me, he's like, it's not it at all.
Can I tell you something like serious as shit? Like y'all been a band for a few years, right?
We have been together for a couple of years.
Yeah. When I logged on Facebook one drunken night, and it was a event page, Kronite playing wherever, and I'm like, who are these sons of bitches?
Stealing my shit.
And I'm like, I'm sure I know these guys. I didn't, I looked them up, and I was like, if they put an H in there at one point, we're gonna have to fight, Let me get his bass going here. 1 second.
So, let's tuck it away.
I'm gonna get you at one point to do just like a walk-in.
Okay.
Like a shuffle.
You wanna do that
Okay.
first?
Depending upon what he asked me.
I'm not wrong about the pronunciation, Patty. You just I know you're German as well, but we're gonna have to talk about it. Play that bass for me. Let's get this thing going. Ooh,
sounds good in my ears.
Don't mind the pot. Very good. Sounds like one of the set of Seinfeld over here. Real good. Boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
Hell yeah. So y'all want to go over a piece for us? Whatever you got. Maybe a funk piece. Maybe a.
I kind of going on what Mitch asked. I do want to mention a couple things, which is really kind of how I approach playing, even from a very early age. Two things. One, we're talking about funk, blues. This is the cradle of jazz and where we are. The other kind of half of that being Motown. I don't care what you like. Everybody likes Motown.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like Ray Charles? Who doesn't like, any of the big hits that came out of the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Right.
And I talked to Jared about this a lot because he notices I do the same pickup a lot. And I thought, probably like a lot of drummers, like you think at some point you're like, well, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. I can't do that.
Right.
That gets stale. And then I watched the documentary. If you've never seen it, you need to watch it. It's called Standing in the Shadows of Motown. And it's about the one band that literally cut every Motown song you can ever think of. No matter who the famous singer was, Aretha Franklin or whoever.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that was the same one band out of that Motown studio that cut all of those records.
Really?
And it was like 12 guys, and they would kind of rotate in and out. 3 drummers, 2 or 3 guitar players, 1 or 2 bass players. Cut literally I heard it through the grapevine. Stevie Wonder, like any song you can think of that came out of that era was cut by one band.
I'll be damned.
Which is one of the coolest things in and of itself.
Absolutely.
But there's a great part in that documentary where the 3 drummers talk about how they do the same pickup. And I've been doing this pickup for 15 years. And to get nerdy really quick,
Let's do it.
for the drummers, the sticking is super easy. It's 5 strokes at the bass, So right, left, right, right. Easy.
All right.
I kind of modified it over the years to so right, left, right, left. That's not a hard sticking. I don't care what level you're on.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, or if you go back when this podcast is over and listen to 50% of Motown records, at some point in that song, or that song will be started off with, which is just,
Huh.
Yeah. So like Motown 2, 3, 4. You can do it over and over and over and over again. And then I didn't feel bad about it all of a sudden, because you've got 3 of the most famous drummers in history, as far as recordings are concerned, talking about, it was really cool, the guy explaining, like, the one guy played it as, and the other guy played it as, and the other guy, and it was just a simple, subtle change between one guy doing this, but it always kind of felt as, again, not hard, but one of the most iconic pickups in history. And I still, to this day, play it all the time. I usually, 70% of the time on any drum fill, I lead from the tom down to the snare. Whatever it may be, I'm usually going here to here.
Interesting.
So, and that comes from that Motown funk jazz thing.
Yeah.
So that's, as far as like early influences, that's how I kind of came up with my pocket for fills, not the pocket for actually, playing in the song, but most of what I do, as where a metal drummer might rely more on the toms or a really blasting snare, I led with that Motown pickup. Because for the most part, that's the style where my playing is coming from. And the other thing that I get noticed for the most, I don't think any drummer that's ever seen me play has ever mentioned or not mentioned this, playing a shuffle. We've all played a shuffle.
Yeah.
When you're young and you're learning, how old are you?
34.
Okay, so you're my age. You know MTV, you know VH1, you know the VCR days. I'm sure, like me, a lot of it was you staring at the TV and watching who? Metallica or Dave Grohl or any of those guys in the early 90s, Pantera, Anthrax, anything like that. You're watching, a TV, or you're if you're lucky enough at a young age to be dragged to a concert. I was dragged to a concert once, and it was the first concert I ever went to. I was 10 years old. I had just got done with football practice, still in my cleats and my pads, just t-shirt, pads on the bottom, and cleats, and I got drugged to UNO Lakefront Arena to watch Elton John play.
Ooh.
That was my first concert. So, which is cool now that I think about it. It wasn't that very cool then.
Yeah.
But they did a shuffle song, and so I'm obviously in the crowd, and I'm watching the drummer, and being that young, you don't realize what a mirror image is. Like if you were to practice in the mirror, the ride would be here, the crash would be here. But if you're watching a drummer on stage, it's flipped. So as where he's playing, that's not what I saw because I'm out in the crowd. I saw this. Which is left-handed. And I didn't realize it at 10, and it just kind of stuck with me as a kid. And then by the time I was going to change it or would have changed my flip it to the right, it was too late because it was already ingrained in me. So even now at 38, I play all shuffles left-handed.
Really?
Jared, the first thing Jared ever noticed was he's like, why do you do that? And I didn't really think about it till somebody mentioned, why do you do that? And then every drummer I've ever met that's seen me play a shuffle, the first thing they notice is, well, you're right-handed, but when you play a shuffle.
See, I've never thought about doing that because I've always had problems playing shuffles. You know,
Try it.
I will.
Because, for the most part, I would imagine, unless you're, highly, highly skilled, for right-handers, what's your weak hand?
Yeah.
Is your left hand. And you're probably more strong with your right hand, for the most part. Obviously guys are going to be different. So it's very easy for me to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I can still do it on the right.
Yeah.
But you can listen to me play it. The right hand kind of sounds stale, and the left hand has a little bit more of a bounce to it.
Yeah.
So like shuffle 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, see, I can do that, but I can't do it the other way around, and that's the way I've always tried to do it.
I can't do this.
Yeah,
because then it just sounds stale.
Yeah,
at least to me. And I listen to I say me. Everybody does this. I ride myself really hard about, well, does this sound good?
Yeah.
I've never been a chops drummer. I'm not a drum solo guy. I might have been in my 20s. I can't remember the last time I took a drum solo. Now that I'm older, as cliche as it may sound, I've learned to serve the song.
Yes.
And I think there's something to be said about, give me, just like boom, boom, boom. And you can play that tight and stiff, and it sounds.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of stiff when I'm playing it, but I learned to loosen up and kind of get and learn how to play. Like, guys don't like playing the money beat, which if you don't know and you're not a drummer, this is the money beat. 3, 4, 1. But there's something to be said for learning how to play the money beat and love it.
Yeah.
Not playing.
Yes. You got to make that beat move, you know?
Shoulders, get your ass and your shoulders, There's something to be said about the simplest thing as playing the money beat.
Yes.
And there are guys that will come into the juke joint. There will guys that'll sit in with the band sometimes, and obviously most of the time you're nervous because it's not your band, but they're real tight, and there's no feeling or there's no ass in something as simple as that money beat.
Yeah.
or guys, I mean, everybody's not the same. Some people just don't have that feel.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys are tight and stiff, which can serve some type of music. But I think the simplest things for me now, the simple little fills. I could play this all day. And this is like the first thing we learned.
Yeah.
But I learned to love it because I know my pocket. And I'm not...
Yeah, and you can play with it.
I'm not stiff.
Yeah.
And kind of what we were talking about earlier. He asked, how do I come up with drum fills?
Yeah.
People ask that all the time. I don't know, because taking the singer out of the equation, it all depends on what he's going to do. Usually 90% of what I do in regards to the bass player is just a response to his call.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're playing a line, boom, 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 but then he does a fill or a lick, most of the time I'm going to answer it in my fashion.
Yes.
So, and this is obviously you have to get warmed up and be playing
Sure.
to really get into it. But if I hear him do something cool, the very next bar, if he went, blah, 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 I'm going to go,
Yep.
or whatever. So
Right.
most of it is what he's doing. The other part, what we were talking about, is if the singer does something that I can latch on to.
Mm-hmm.
I love to try to follow this. We do in the cover band. We do what's the Janis Joplin song called? No, Janis Joplin. The Janis Joplin song every cover band does, and of course I've done it for way too many years. Anyway, doesn't matter because I don't care. There is a part.
Come on.
There is a part in there that the singer does this line where she goes, Lordy, 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 Lord. And I have learned over the years to mimic, And it's little things like that with the singers.
Yes.
Like if I can hear you do something that I can mimic, because
It
drums
makes the difference.
drums can't mimic vocals really.
Right.
But if there is something I can latch onto, then I will. So 90% of what I do is probably just a response to a call.
Yeah.
And then the other 10% I might call hoping for a response.
Hey, speaking of drummers matching vocals, Phil.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get you in there and we could do a little back and forth.
Yeah.
While I talk to Stephen about this.
Yeah, there's no double pedal. Just making none of that.
But Phil, Stephen, the videos, they're kind of fairly new that I've seen, but where the drummers, they'll play like episodes like of sitcoms or whatever, and then they play along to
I have no idea how they do that.
Yeah, the cacophony of what they're saying with the. But
Like I am talking and you are playing with that.
Yes, exactly.
How you
I
do
love that.
I don't understand
Because I tried to do that when I played drums.
I don't understand it because number one, if you were taking a Family Guy clip and you were going to play like he was talking, you
Right.
have to first memorize that clip. And those clips are like 30 seconds long, and I do not understand it. I cannot wrap my mind about how you would, number one, remember how he was talking, but also they play like different beats.
Yes.
Like when he's talking like this and he goes that, and then we go down to, I
love them.
just don't understand how they do it.
Yeah, it's like they're making the drums talk like a guitar or a bass would.
It's so awesome, but I have to give my, tip my hat to anybody that can do that. I really don't. That's a whole nother thing that I do love watching. It's just, it's one of the neater things I've seen.
Well, now that we got old Phil there on the drums,
Yeah, I'm sitting a little low, but that's okay. We'll make it.
maybe we can get Dakota to kind of drop a line, and you guys can go back. Maybe we do like a little 30 seconds with Stephan and a little 30 seconds with Phil. Y'all go back and forth a couple. Now that we got the whiskey flowing.
Yeah. Yeah, at 2 p.m. Yeah, let's do it.
Dakota's like, the whiskey was flowing before I got here. Take it back to Stephan. Back to Phil. All right, everybody now. Holy cow! Damn!
Hey, that was cool.
That worked so smoothly. Oh my god, that handoff was so good between you guys. That's the best handoff we've had.
Really?
Yeah, that was not rehearsed, by the way.
Now that I'm saying it out loud, I think we should definitely call this segment the handoff segment.
We're gonna get kicked off YouTube.
Hey, Dakota, I just want to say, Dakota, thank you so much for coming out today.
Thank you for having
I know you got a gig that you got to go to today. You're playing at Felix's in Gulfport. and you're about to roll out. Before you roll out, could we get the past couple of Drummer to Drummer episodes we've done, the last part of this segment, this handoff segment, we asked the bass player to just go. I'm not, and you're killing it. You're going to town. If you wanted to just kind of let loose and take it up a notch and just like, see if these guys can keep up with you.
And I'd like you start because I get to play with him all the time.
Okay.
I'd love to hear your approach to whatever he would do.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm the devil.
Yo, you better bring the chops, Phil.
What is this, Flight of the Bumblebee?
Let's see what old Stephan can do with this. All right, Phil, let's bring it back in. Come on, Stephan, get in there. Holy cow!
Set the
That
table,
was amazing. I love at the very, very end. You both almost instinctively did almost the same feel the way to end it. You knew how to end it the same.
It's 'cause
Holy
you know
cow!
how to follow the bass player.
That blew my socks off. Damn.
That's the difference between when somebody learns their shit and somebody just jams metal and drinks whiskey all day. That's the difference.
Holy cow! Thank you so much, Dakota. You guys want to come back to the table and
Let's come back to the table.
let's find out what Stephan's got up his sleeve, what he's got going on, and I'll get this camera back.
It's like a speed switch with all these cables. It's like the fastest transition ever.
Mm-hmm. Boom. There's Dakota.
Thanks.
You good on time?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are good. 3:13. We're good to go. Hell yeah.
Just make sure the kid gets to his gig on time.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll be good. Check.
Pop. Gotta get the phantom power going.
There we go.
You know the way she goes. Let's see what we got. I'm tired. Holy cow.
So early in the day.
Yeah, I know.
How do you guys feel about that
Probably
jam that you just did?
That's cool.
It's tough with drummer jams. Most guys, when they jam, they end up playing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Booka, 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 boom, booka. I learned with a guy a long time ago. We would do the. Does everybody know Brooks Hubbard?
Oh yeah.
At least know the name.
Yeah.
Brooks has probably the most amazing drummer to ever come out of this area, who doesn't even live here anymore. I think he lives in Florida. His name was Sims Chadwick.
Mm-hmm.
He could play the fastest, most complicated jazz you ever heard, but also play the most complicated metal. He was a math whiz, so mathematical drumming kind of was his thing. And we would do these double drummer gigs with Brooks a lot, Brooks and Norm and that whole crew. And I being the younger guy, thought, like the Allman Brothers, we're supposed to play together. Both of us playing boom, boom, cat, boom, 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 cat, boom, cat, boom, cat, whatever it is. I always noticed he would play off of me. So if I was playing boom, cat, he's playing boom, cat, cat. He was always playing in my cracks, which is what I try to do, like when he got up there.
Mm-hmm.
If another drummer comes into the mix or you have a double drums, if I want to take the main beat, that's fine, and hopefully he'll play in the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
But normally I would let the other guy take the main beat and do whatever he's going to do and try to fill in his holes, which is what I kind of tried to do with him.
I love the way you think, by the way. I love the
Nobody's
way
ever said that.
I
to
love
be
the way
honest with
I
you, so
love the
thank
way
you just made my
that
year.
you think about drums and how you explain it, about filling in holes and filling in cracks.
I love filling in holes. Not so much cracks. Not so much cracks,
but
but whatever your fancy is.
Because
Jesus
because I was expecting for there to be this big very high level language of percussion today,
God, no.
and you speak on a level with even like I said, I'm not a drummer, but I can follow what you're in everything you said today. I completely understand what you're talking about.
Well, I think both me and him can kind of come from the same school.
Hmm?
There's two thoughts, I guess. There's the book and there's the street. And you can pick either one, but you're going to end up at the street in the end. So you can go to college.
Yeah, you end up with a couple diseases.
Yeah. You can go to college. You can learn to read. You can learn all the technical things you want. But in the end, you're going to end up playing, which is, for me, the street. So that, for me, is more important than, like you said, stickings and paradiddles and double pair, whatever. Yep. That's fine. Yes, do practice that and make sure you learn your craft. But at the end of the day, if I can't sit down with him and play, I can play Night in Tunisia off of a chart. Well, that's great. Can you play with him?
Yeah.
Can you play with him? Can I play with... That's what makes
you an accomplished musician, whether you're playing bass, guitar, drums, whatever. You can get in a room with somebody, no matter who they are, and play along with them. I remember when Phil started playing with this country musician, and I was like, what are you doing with a country musician? Because my instinct was like, I would never get in a room with a bunch of somebody.
What would you do?
But he did, and he's hanging with them. It's just, and to him, it's still the same. It's just
the same shit.
It's a conversation.
He's still playing, and I was like, you're elevating your game. You are expanding your skill set to be able to play with whoever walks in here.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not as versatile in that sense, and I'm more selective. But that I'm not worried about that. Phil, on the other hand, you play in the juke joint. You can play with whoever comes up on stage. It's just a testament to your professionalism.
10 years of being hammered.
Yeah.
And I don't mean hammered as in drunk, but like hammered with. Well, okay.
We were pretty hammered.
You
now.
might not know this metal song, but guess what? Jarrett's not here tonight,
right.
So you have to play, whatever it is. So you might as well learn it.
Yeah.
I might not like country, but you got to learn Tennessee whiskey.
That's more
You
valuable
know.
to me than anything else, is being put in a situation that you're 100% not prepared for with a
Yes.
guy's style that you don't know, and being able to make that work.
Being put in a situation you're not prepared for and playing with guys that are way better than you.
There you go. Because every time,
which is hard to do, by the way.
100%. Every time I get the chance to sit down, like, especially with, like, you know, you see some 60-year-old guy get up there and grab, he's got his little Stratocaster, and I'm like, I want to play with that guy.
That's the dude.
I want to play with that guy, because that guy has been around the block, and if I can hang with that guy, I can probably hang with most of these guys out here.
Or like you said when you were in New Orleans at the Mint. Who's next?
Yeah.
You're a metal drummer surrounded
Yeah.
by jazz, street beat, and
Yes.
brush players.
100%.
And then that's not the time to go, oh, well, they're staying more. I can't.
And I almost did that. I was almost like, look, if I get up there, these guys are going to look at me wild. They're going to look at me crazy. They got these little, you know, they got the little 14-inch bass drum,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm like, what are you going to do with that? I'm going to kill that thing. You know?
But that's the time to do it. And you
Yes.
know, I never, at least now that, you know, you get older and you get hopefully smarter about things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Oh, well, here comes. Oh, I don't care. Get on stage. I'll play with you.
Yeah.
And we can swing. We can play hard rock. We can play country. We can play
Yep.
funk. We can play. I don't care. I might screw it up. I do most of the time. I don't care. You know, but playing with guys that are better than you, playing in situations you're not used to. Then Amber, the singer for 3HD, said, she goes, that's what's cool about y'all is y'all can just, even if you don't know the tune, you can just kind of go with, you know, whatever. And it's like, well, you do that for long enough, and then you can learn to pick up on, country kind of sounds like this, metal kind of sounds like this.
Yeah.
You know,
Where it's going to go.
Yeah. And then you become at least flexible enough where, you know, you could get that call to play with, you know, oh, well, we know you're a rock drummer, but we got this funk gig. You know, we know you got good pocket, you could handle.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we know you're a funk bass player, but you could swing. You could do this, you know, jazz gig with us, or, you know, you might be a punk guitarist, but we know you've got good time, so you could play this country gig. You know, that I think is worth more than being the best at any one thing. You know,
just being able to be flexible.
Play.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
That's why we're doing this anyway. To play. We want to play. I mean, that's all I want to do is play drum. Well, it's not all I want to do. I have a couple of
kind of crushed that.
Yeah, I have a couple.
But you're playing tonight at the Juke Joint.
Yes. Every Sunday, 11 to 3 at the Juke Joint, open jam. And when we say, or open mic, whatever you want to call it, it's more so if you play an instrument, if you sing, drums, guitar, it doesn't matter. That is one of the things I've always loved
unless
about
you're someone like me and you just hook up a bunch of fuzz pedals and make feedback.
That's all right too.
which is okay.
We can find a rhythm in that.
I mean, we've had many
I'm going to
open
control that pitch of
jams
the
around
feedback.
here. Yeah, we've had many open jams around here, but I think that one has lasted for literally about to approach 10 years for the same reason as it's not like it's the one where the drunk guy in the bar wants to sing whatever. That has been where the musicians come when does our week end? Sunday night.
Right.
You know, typically you're not playing on Monday or Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where, you know, your last gig on a Sunday is probably over about 10. That's not the late night. Friday night's late, Saturday night's late. That is where the musicians come in. That's every Sunday. You can see the people that were playing down at Glory Bound have come down. Whoever might have been playing at Mosaic had come down. Whoever didn't play that day but was in Gulfport came. You know, and that's why I think that one has lasted so long and does so well.
Also, it speaks to the spirit of the venue, too. Juke Joint is one of those places.
It's one of the last places.
And we're back in, what was it, Phil, February, March, when we were recording the music video. And I had contacted you. I was like, hey, man, I just want to make sure that we're out of your way before, because I knew you had the open mic.
And we didn't care
jam,
because, at least to us, it's like, we're here every Sunday. It's more important for y'all to get.
Oh, we did it. We got it done. We got it done before you got there.
Yeah. But I mean, either way,
I just wanted to make sure the stage was clear for you to be able to get in there.
Had you been there at 11:20, we wouldn't have cared. It's like, how many times do you get to shoot a music video?
Yeah.
As opposed to we're doing.
The Juke Joint was so cool, man. It was so
Star
cool.
Trek
They were so
video.
laid back about us.
It was a great video.
You know, shooting it. But I know Dakota's he's about to bounce and he's got to get to. It's Kron night playing at Felix's today.
It's actually Whatnot.
Whatnot.
Yeah.
What is Whatnot?
And it's Crow night, by the way.
So
Whatnot
you
is
say.
just an extension of 3HG. So just some of the members from 3HG. We're just kind of
but
threw
not
something together.
Not Stephen.
Steven won't be there
Not
tonight.
me.
He's got to go home.
Drummers
and
are
practice.
screwed for 2020
Yeah,
for sure. Drummers are
2020.
screwed for 2020. Like
Yeah.
drummers,
It's all
drummers
duo
have
and
been put
trio.
out for sure.
How rude.
Yeah.
Dakota, thank you so much for coming out today,
Well,
and
yeah, thank you for having me.
and I just wanted to say that sincerely before, because I know you do have to go at some point, and if you need to leave, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
But before we close out, Stephen, I wanted to talk to you about your YouTube channel. Man, oh my God, Dan, your videography. Okay, and I know you got a lot of tips from Derek Fountain, who I freaking
Shout major.
freaking love.
It would not be anything
Derek
if not for Derek.
Fountain photography.
Derek, you won't see this, but it would not be.
Yeah, he doesn't watch any. I send him a text message, and it'll be like 4 or 5 months later. He'll respond to be like,
Yeah.
"What? Hey, you need you?
He's going
help
to see this in 6
help with your
months.
guitar." Yeah, 6 months from now, Derek, when you say I need help with one of my guitars, man. But your videography, and we're talking about your short depth of field that you use. Oh my God, I love it. The coffee, I love everything that comes because it's so professional. I feel like I'm watching a freaking commercial. Like I want to, the way that you like get into it.
Oh,
you're
the
like,
coffee.
yeah,
The
yeah.
coffee
Well,
video.
I mean,
Morning drums.
Yeah, I mean, there's no push there. You're just very laid back in your delivery. You're like, check out this gear. We're talking about microphones today. I mean, it's very and it's all filmed very well.
Well, that was the point.
Man,
I said,
let's get people to your YouTube channel first of all.
Okay, so it's very easy. You can see me right here. Bearded drums.
Which is how I first met you, was doing the logo for you.
Exactly.
For the
exactly.
channel.
Which I still use to this day, and I that was one of the first what I would consider professional things. Was like, I gotta get logo made. Derek, who do I call? Call
this
Mitchell.
guy.
Call Mitchell. He'll get you that.
$2,500 later, you got
$27.95 later, I have a sticker.
And then I saw, and the next time I saw you, I think you were at like somewhere Dark Horizons was playing, and you were talking to Buzz, and I was like, hey,
the Hard Rock.
yeah,
The Hard Rock.
yeah. Oh, the cover thing, yeah.
It's one of the funnest and most, probably like this podcast, it's one of the funnest and most stressful things I do. For sure. This being one of the more fun things I've gotten to do recently, because I haven't done much in 2020.
So I know he's getting excited here. But
I got one more question. I got one more question. I got
your
with
YouTube channel,
325. I got one more question.
You use DSLRs and we use webcams here.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about using just straight up webcams, or do you love that short depth of field with the DSLRs?
Love
Okay,
the digital mirrorless stuff.
We put our
He hates
toe
what
in
we
it.
do.
We put our toe in it, and it was a nightmare. It was a technological, logistical
Yeah, it
nightmare.
was too much. It was too much for us.
Yeah, no, like
they're not made.
they're not
specifically
to do this.
for
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, these are easy.
Yeah.
These are just set up
They're
and
not,
go.
but I mean, you can now. Like they released a firmware update for like Canon did, and like we have Canons,
Yes.
and so yeah, you could take your $1,000 DSLR and turn it into a webcam. But
this
I
is
mean, it's
easier.
like you're turning in $1,000 camera into a webcam that just with a DSLR lens.
And I'm jealous of this because I kind of wanted to do something podcast related, but then like you've got for every person, you've got the webcam for their face, the mic for their voice,
right,
for every person. So if I want to have four people,
yeah,
it's just
you got to check levels. That's why we ask people to be here 2 hours, an hour before, because as a musician, we got to check not only the levels on the electronic kits, we got to check the levels on the microphones that you talk into. We got to check the levels on Dakota's bass. Then we have to come here. Then we have to frame the webcam. Phil won't, but I will, and because I want you to look good. I want it to look level somewhat. Right now Dakota doesn't look level, but you look level. That's important to me.
I have enough trouble remembering to press record.
You want everybody to hear your voice, very well. You want Dakota's voice to be loud as Phil's voice. I mean, it takes some time to check all that.
Which again is
why
I appreciate what y'all.
Right.
Again, thank you for bringing us on because this is.
Thank you for being here.
Well, I had no idea you were doing
Dakota.
it. And this is cooler than even what I thought once he told me. I was like, okay, well, how's it gonna? Yeah. This is even cooler than after I watched the sample episode you sent me, and then when I was kind of prepping for this is way more fun than I even imagined it was going to be because it's just, granted we're all not drummers, but it's just a bunch of musicians sitting down and
talk shop.
Not trying to promote something like
Yeah,
No,
right,
no,
yeah,
no, it's like you were saying, like the Gulf Coast has a lot of great musicians, and this provides a in-depth, like us to be able to sit here and do a deep dive with you on your background.
Get to
like
know you.
2021, like for example, like what do you foresee happening? What's your goals? What do you want to do in 2021? People are getting vaccines. People are going to start coming out. What do you hope to get out of 2021?
I think if we could even get back to some semblance of playing regularly, because I know you're hurting. All of us are hurting financially, but not even that, because we all know, I mean, if you do, like me, rely solely on music to make your living, it's not about the money. You only do it because you love it. So I think if we could even get back to some regularity of playing, that would be the greatest thing ever. Who knows what's going to happen? Granted, things are getting a tad bit better. If you're a single or a duo like these guys, you're playing all the time. But because of crowd limits and the amount that the bars can afford now, full bands, especially me and Phil with drums, you're kind of screwed. So if we could get back to a point where they could afford to bring back in the full bands, that would be enough for me just to be happy.
I think we're on our way out of it. I think we're at the tail end. I really think that it has to be. I'm going to give my last question here because I want to end this at 3:30. It's 3:29. But when you first came on my radar, you know, I've seen you play throughout the years, but when you first really came on my radar, because I've had a dream of doing this forever, but I was too timid, I was too weird, was when you had all the drummers in your house.
Oh man, that was the funnest.
How many drummers was that?
It was me, Phil Enfant, Jarrett, Cedric Fizel, and Jeffrey McCarty. So that's
five guys.
Five, yeah.
Me, Jeffrey.
I counted as
Cedric,
you said them.
Jarrett. That's 6 drummers.
6 drummers with full drum sets.
6 drummers. Full drum kits, full cymbal setups.
Now, how did you manage that? Was it just a free for all? Like you set a one drummer set a tempo, and then y'all just jam?
I can't remember because again, things were happening that day that make you not remember.
Right.
But if I remember correctly, we started off with a simple beat, and then one kind of like we did here.
Yeah.
16 bars, you would lead. 16 bars, you would lead. 16 bars, I would lead, and everybody would kind of just play like light hi-hat to keep time while you were going off. And then we'd do that for a little while, and then we'd stop, and then I would go, okay, now Mitchell, you come up with a beat or a pattern. And then we'd all follow that and do the same thing. So every time, it wasn't like you were just playing the same drum beat every time. Somebody would play like a shuffle. Somebody would play like a Latin pattern.
So like if 5 people would lay off and do simple beats, and one guy would show his shit, and then you go to the next guy. And I remember that's what you did. You went drummer to drummer, and you were like showing off each other's stuff. Now I'm gonna put you on the spot before we end this thing because it's 3:31.
Wait, before you put him on the spot, I want to say that's very similar to when me and you were in a band. We tried to do a drum only song. So Phil was the drummer, and we had 3 floor toms. So I played a floor tom, the bass player played a floor tom, and the other guitar player played a floor tom, or the keyboardist played a floor. And I tried to I was like, all right, you construct the drums however you want, and I will play my own beat. And then he was like, no. This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play this, and then this is your cue for when you come in, and then this is the cue for when the bass player comes in, and this is the cue for when and he wrote. He was like, this is the beats that I want you guys to play as auxiliary to what I'm playing. And I think the song was called Concusstus or something like that. Anyways, it's kind of similar to but we
and then it climaxed.
We would perform. Yes.
We're not allowed to use that word, but
I always loved doing that because it was strictly percussive. No, I mean we had like feedback, but there was no notes, no melody, no keyboard or anything, just beats, just like all floor toms, like really low, really heavy. Yeah. And I think what we would close the set out with it. Okay, now you can put them on the spot.
Okay, but since we're live and we'll end it after this, and
I got something for you after you say that. I'm gonna have to keep you going for just a second. When you're done.
And by the way, just to let y'all know, we are live. We don't edit shit. We don't edit anything. Which is probably a mistake.
No, that's the fun part.
Yeah, right.
Would you be willing to entertain the idea of linking up with me and Mitchell and doing a super drum
recording?
Of course. There you go. Well, we got him on the record.
Do that right now?
immediately.
Sure.
Today, before
Dakota's like, am I playing bass on this?
Yeah. No,
I
and
gotta
I'm
get
saying,
to go to,
and
but
I'm
I got
saying,
5 minutes.
when we do this, I want to, have some bass players and guitar players too. I want to do it big because we got the resources to do it now. Like 10 years ago, we didn't have the gear or the wherewithal to figure this out, but now we do.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm ready.
Well, to put you on the spot.
Let's
now.
go.
So, number one, to thank y'all for bringing us on, and to thank you for doing this, because you're not getting paid. You can't make money on YouTube. So you're doing this out of the kindness of your heart. You've wasted half your Sunday.
Very true.
One thing, out of all the stuff we've talked about today, one thing I have learned in my musical travels is the dumbest thing, or the most useless thing to learn, is learn how to fix broken cymbals. Mm-hmm. And you're a metal guy, and you're a hard rock guy, and metal guys love China cymbals. They love stacks. I had this at my house, and I brought it for you today to say thank you for bringing us on. This is something, it was a crash that I fixed and made into a metal kind of stack trash.
I love
that
it.
is for you.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you
Show
so
the
much.
bolts, man.
show the
Somewhere
camera.
he
Check this
actually
out.
bolted it.
Check this out.
That's like
And
top notch.
it's a mean, trashy sounding kind of stack thing, so I think you'll probably dig it.
Hang on.
I totally dig it because, like I said, I'm not a drummer, but I also know that when you're, let me see this thing. Let me see this. Look. If you're not, where's this thing? So, like, for all you guitarists and bass players out there, when the drummers break and crack their cymbals on the edge, one way to fix them is to actually cut out the part where it cracks. And I've tried to do this, and it is a big pain in the ass. But Stephan has actually cut out several chunks where the cracks began on this cymbal, if you can see. And like, holy cow, and he freaking bolted it. Look at this. Look at the detail. He put 3 bolts. Holy cow!
Well,
oh my God!
hopefully it'll fit
Son of a
into
bitch.
your style and
Top
maybe
notch.
give you a little fun to play with.
Yes.
And you can't break it because it's already been broken. So
I'm gonna steal that and use it to record.
There's nothing more
There you go.
custom than this. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Holy
Thank you
shit.
so much.
Yeah. Thank
Please
you for
check
having us.
Put the with the closing.
Yeah, let's do the
I got
closing scene.
Stephan's YouTube.
Yeah, we got
there we
YouTube,
go.
Bearded
There we go.
Drums, IG,
check
S.
him out on
Nelson
YouTube.
Jr.
Check out 3HG on Sunday nights. Check out Whatnot Today at Felix's.
Whatnot. It's not a
Check out-
joke. The guy's
Check out
got
Kron Night.
The guy's got 388,000 views on YouTube. It's insane. It's good quality videos.
I didn't know. I didn't know my own numbers.
Yeah. You got a shit ton of subscribers. 388,000 plus views. I didn't write down the other 3 numbers because it's whatever. But
check it
that's a lot, and that's very impressive for a drum channel from the number 1 state in the world, Mississippi.
Birthplace of America's music.
Thank you, Stephen Nelson.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah,
Really
thank
you,
appreciate
Mrs.
it. A lot of
Dakota.
fun. A lot of fun.
Thank you, Croatian sensation, Mr. Groot's third.
I try.
Go Croatia, soccer. We'll see you guys next